You're listening to From the Chair, and I'm your host, Mike Hamilton. Join us each episode as we talk to athletic directors from across America. We're going to talk about topics like leadership, career development, issues of the day, and I can promise you we're going to have some fun along the way too. So sit back, listen in, and let's dive in. Let's go. All right, welcome in today's episode. Matt Roberts, the athletic director at the College of Charleston. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Mike. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you carving out a few minutes to talk with me and the others who will be listening along the way. Hey, I told you I want to go back, and you've now been at the College of Charleston 6 years, and you know, a lot of times we get to reflect on the past and see where we've come from, and we'll do a little bit of that. But I want to start with a reflection on, you may recall in your opening remarks, your press conference, those first few days, you established that you were going to try to operate with three primary priorities at the College of Charleston. And this may not be verbatim, Matt, but I think I'll be close enough to nail this. You talked about embracing greatness in all of your endeavors. You talked about having a constant focus on your student athletes, and you talked about engaging the Charleston community. And so I'm sure you've done an assessment along the way over these last 6 years as to, you know, what you guys have been doing to meet the mark on that and how you can get better and all those kinds of things. But this is a chance for you to reflect back and weigh in against those three priorities and kind of give me a sense of how you feel like you guys are coming along in those endeavors.
Yeah, sure. You know, it's crazy to believe that it's been 5.5 years, almost 6 years since that press conference. And, you know, we moved out here. My only son at the time was 2, and Amanda, who worked for you at Tennessee, had our second child in her belly, and you know, life has changed significantly for the Roberts family for the better, and we've enjoyed our time here. But you know, back to your question, it's this time of the year, you know, Mike, in the business, that we get a chance to reflect on the year's previous work and start to set goals and aim high for the next year. So, you know, we've been able, for the most part, to hit our mark, you know, through a lot of adversity, like everybody's experienced with COVID and, you know, different challenges along the way. But, you know, we've engaged the community in a great way, and the community's embraced our vision for supporting our student athletes. And we've been fortunate to have a lot of donors step up and set records in terms of, you know, ticket sales, annual giving, and now embarking on some capital campaign projects to transform our facilities out at Patriot's Point. And you know, along the way, we've also been able to make improvements to TD Arena, where our men's and women's basketball and volleyball teams compete. And then just looking at the student athlete health and well-being, you know, hiring a nutritionist for the first time, enhancing our mental health offerings for our student athletes, having a holistic exclusive partnership with MUSC, the prominent hospital here, not only in the city of Charleston, but across the state. Those type of things and those changes have really helped us grow our offerings to our student athletes and putting their health and well-being at the forefront. And then most importantly, academically, and setting records in terms of term GPA. Now, you know, we used to track and benchmark how many semesters we had in a row at a cumulative 3.0 GPA. And now that benchmark's jumped to over 3.2, and that's our new, so now 3.3 is next. And we've been fortunate enough, since the NCAA implemented the academic reward for APR or GSR data, that we've hit that benchmark every year that's been offered. So things have gone great, and our staff has done a fantastic job of embracing our vision, sharing it with the community, but most importantly, taking that vision and putting it into work to support our student athletes.
Yeah, that's great, man. You know, I know this because of having grown up in the Carolinas. You have gone to school in the Carolinas. You're in a beautiful place. Charleston's a great town, great quality of life, and you're at a place where you guys have had, you know, obviously good academic success and significant athletic success. But it's a unique environment in some ways too, right? I mean, you don't have football, but you have sailing and you have equestrian. And I want to talk about a couple of the nuances and differences of being at the College of Charleston. I'm going to get to Patriot's Point and what you're doing out there in just a moment. But first
Sure.
of all, maybe a little bit of the history on equestrian and sailing at the College of Charleston.
Yeah, you know, this is the first institution I've ever either attended or worked at that doesn't have football and FBS football at that. So that was a different, kind of a leap of faith and a different challenge that we embarked on when we moved here. And certainly I'm a football junkie, and in a lot of ways, Mike, I've loved it. I've loved absolutely every minute of it because I can be a fan in the fall on Saturdays, and while all my colleagues are running around with their hair on fire in July and August, my summer gets extended a little bit farther, and there's no better place to have your summer extended than in Charleston. So, from a family standpoint, from just not having football, and the attention and the focus and the amount of resources it takes to support a competitive football program, and being able to direct my attention and our staff's attention to all the other sports, it's kind of a refreshing challenge. And two of those sports that you mentioned, sailing and equestrian, our sailing program, even though it's not an NCAA championship sport, it is a competitive sport, and they sail competitively predominantly against schools in the Eastern Seaboard, but also Stanford out west, a lot of Ivy League schools, Tulane, South Florida, and some others. We've been probably the most successful program in the history of that sport. And most schools sponsor sailing as a club sport. And here at the College of Charleston, it's so important to our community, and being in one of the most prominent harbors along the Eastern Seaboard, and what sailing means to our community, that we've embraced it as a varsity sport here. So our sailing student athletes, even though they're not scholarship student athletes or athletic scholarship student athletes, receive the same athletic benefits that a basketball player does. Access to sports nutrition, sports medicine, sports performance, also academic support staff and things like that. So it's kind of unique in that regard. But we've set the record for the most foul trophies, which the foul trophy is the award given to the best all-around sailing program each year. We won it last year. Did not win it this year, but look to get it back on track here coming soon. So that's unique and something I've learned a lot about. And those kids are unbelievable athletes. We actually had two of our sailors that were flag bearers in the Olympics this past year, the Summer Olympics. So we've had some Olympians and had some kids go on and do great things and represent their countries. And then equestrian, we're not on the kind of the NCAA emerging side of things. We're on the other side, but our equestrian program has seen tremendous success too. I think we finished 5th nationally this year, and again, it's a campus asset, and it's another recruiting tool that the College of Charleston utilizes to attract young men and women, for sailing, and young women for equestrian to come to the college and pursue their academic, degree, but also still have that athletic opportunity afforded to them.
I'm sorry I don't know this, but this leads to the question: do you oversee intramural and rec sports at the college?
I do not. So that is separate. That is separate. Just those two sports. Even though they're not NCAA championship sports, we do still directly oversee them and their staff and the student athletes.
Got it. Has there been any pressure that you've ever felt to add football?
I'd say probably a week doesn't go by that somebody doesn't say it in jest or in seriousness, but the landscape of college football, even at the FCS level, has become so complex and dynamic. And we compete in the CAA, which is one of, if not the most prominent FCS conference in all of that level of college football. I think our issues would probably be twofold. One, the significant level of financial investment that it would take to do so. And then, we're a school that our female enrollment, student body enrollment, is in the mid-60s. So adding a male-only sport would cause us significant Title IX issues. And, certainly football is a sport that does a great job of garnering community interest and engages a campus community, in numbers and in masses, unlike any other sport can. But I think now any school going and adding football is a pretty tall task to do.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, I did want to talk about Patriot's Point because it's a unique situation. Although Charleston's not a big city, it's a decent-sized city. It's got a historical overlay, some things that you've got to be sensitive to. and so you somewhat get landlocked in many ways by the location of your campus. Yet you have you've got a great arrangement, at least from my perspective, with what you're doing at Patriots Point, which is just outside of the downtown area, and what baseball and soccer, softball, tennis, I believe. Talk about the decision to continue to invest in that. There are a lot of I was out of school not just within the last 2 weeks. It's in an urban environment, and one of the things they're struggling with right now is space for expansion of athletic facilities. Not only expansion of athletic facilities, but the actual having the athletic facility on campus. And so as they look around as to where they go, is there a spot they can do something along the lines of what you guys have done at Patriots Point? Maybe share a little bit about that relationship and how you guys view Patriots Point and how it's worked for you there.
Yeah, so for those that have ever visited Charleston, Patriots Point is the plot of land just across the Ravenel Bridge, which is the tall main suspension bridge that goes over the Cooper River. And as you're driving over that bridge towards Mount Pleasant, on the right you can see the Yorktown, which is a old aircraft carrier, and right beside that whole peninsula, that area is called Patriots Point. And we're fortunate enough to call that home for our men's and women's soccer teams, our baseball team, our softball team, our tennis teams, and then our sailing team. Their complex sails right there adjacent to the Yorktown and on Charleston Harbor. So it's really a popular hub for many of our student athletes and those sports that are larger head count sports. But it was developed for us back about 22 years ago, but nothing had really been done since then to address the aging facility, the student athlete needs, locker rooms, training rooms, fan amenities, things like that. And so, starting a couple of years ago, we set forth with a vision and a master plan for that facility to address the needs of all those sports. And we've been fortunate along the way to also partner with the oldest, longest standing professional soccer franchise in the country, the Charleston Battery, as a partner and tenant out there. And they've come in and invested quite a bit of capital to improve that facility and really show a vision that and cast a vision out there that we can take forward to our other facilities. So we've begun in earnest to raise money for baseball in a 3-phase project, and phase 1 is near completion in terms of funding, and that'll address the field, lighting, scoreboard, and then the next up is a performance center to address those student athletes, locker room, batting cages, training, those type of needs. And then all along we're developing those individual plans for sailing and also softball. And then we were fortunate enough about a month ago to get a lead gift, a $1.5 million gift, to support our tennis center and the renovation of our tennis center. So, we've never, to my knowledge, really embarked on even a mini capital campaign in support of athletics. And this is the first time we've done that. And, I'm pretty bullish on it and the growth of this community and the, little bit of success that I've experienced and the conversations I've had with those in and around the community. I think there's an appetite for it, and our early results are proving that positive, but we have a heck of a long way to go to finish our vision out there. So I'm excited to join forces with our coaches and get out there and continue to meet people in the community that can help make our vision a reality.
Yeah, it's great. So, look, you've got Charleston Southern there in the marketplace. You've got the Citadel in the marketplace. You've got fans of Coastal Carolina and South Carolina and Clemson in the greater area. How do you go about finding your place on the sports page and in the narrative as it relates to recruiting and fan support and all that kind of thing in the midst of the competition, so to speak?
Well, winning is probably the biggest thing, right? If you win, they'll write about you, they'll follow you. If you play a competitive schedule, like men's basketball hosting North Carolina, baseball hosting Texas, you play those national prominent programs. Certainly, whenever we play Charleston Southern or the Citadel, there's always going to be local media coverage for those. So we try to play those two schools in most every sport that we sponsor that are reciprocal. But it's tough. Yeah, I mean it's really tough in a marketplace, especially in the fall with the huge attention that's given to Clemson and South Carolina football. But from a fan standpoint, shifting from media to fan standpoint, that's where another advantage is of us not having football, because we get a lot of those Clemson and South Carolina football fans that live in the Charleston area that we're kind of their hobby while they're waiting for
Yeah.
football season to start again. And so that's a differentiator for us. And we've been fortunate to have success starting in men's basketball, building in women's basketball, but then also in our spring sports where those fans, maybe of another school for football or an alum for another school have gravitated towards us. And we have a tremendous arena, TD Arena, right in the heart of downtown, right by King Street, right by, the most popular tourist destination, one of the most popular tourist destinations in all the world. So it gives people something to do in those winter months when it gets darker a little bit earlier. They can come into TD Arena, see good college basketball in a nice 5,000 seat, intimate environment, and it kind of keeps their athletic itch scratched for those non-football months.
Yeah. So you chair the Colonial Athletic Directors Council or Committee or whatever the title is exactly. And I'm not going to ask you to necessarily speak for each of your peer institutions specifically, but maybe in a very general sense. From the Colonial's perspective, how are you viewing, and maybe you just want to talk about it from College of Charleston's perspective, and if you do, that's okay. But, all the things that are in the mix today, right? The portal and collectives and NIL and conference realignment and those kind of things. I don't know. I'm trying to think back on the podcasts we've done this year. I'm not sure I've had another athletic director from the Colonial on just yet. So I'd be interested in your perspective.
Well, no, I mean your timeliness is good on that question. We just finished our summer meetings in Florida, and that, of course, was a hot topic of conversation, especially now having 4 new schools join the CAA in Monmouth, A&T, North Carolina A&T, Hampton, and Stony Brook. We're really kind of taking a step back, and we started this process, honestly, Mike, before JMU, made that change and that switch from FCS to FBS and going to the Sun Belt, and Jeff Bourne and that university were tremendous in us moving through this kind of expansion process. And when we decided as a league, and our president decided as a league, that we wanted to proactively seek expansion, it was not done so just to go grab a number. It was, let's find some like-minded schools academically, athletically, that fit in our geographic footprint, that have the same type of aspirations in whatever this new world order of NCAA Division I athletics looks like. And I think what you're starting to see with some other schools, and you'll hear from us, assuming our board of directors approves it, is the CAA taking a step forward and collectively agreeing to do certain things, whether it's Austin-related inducements for academic success, whether it's schools that are creating their own NIL opportunities or collectives, and not trying to be a Power Five. That's not who we are. That's not who we'll ever be. But trying to be leaders in the mid-major space and trying to be, a school that collective of schools that puts the student athletes first and their benefits first and does everything we can to maximize the student athlete experience. And, we created a vision and mission, our board of directors and presidents did, that, pretty much says that. Now it's time to kind of put our words to action. And I think over the next year, that's what we look forward to working with our presidents to do.
Good stuff. So we all have our tracks that we come through in life, our educational experiences, family dynamics, who we worked with, where we worked, and certainly you're a Carolina grad, and I guess I should say on this podcast, since you're sitting in South Carolina, you're a University of North Carolina grad.
I've had to learn that pretty quickly. Yeah. That's why I'm pretty intentional on South or North Carolina.
Yeah,
I get the dirty look if I say Carolina.
My wife usually says she graduated from Chapel Hill. That's what she usually says. So yeah, and then you went to Ohio for your master's, as a number of folks have done in this industry, and what a great master's program that is. I want to call out 2 specific stops, and that's your Oklahoma stop and your SMU stop. First, mainly around the people you worked with, right? I mean, working with Joe and working with Rick, and just their role in who you've become as a leader and your philosophy that you developed as an athletic director. And Joe has untold number of folks that have worked alongside of him on his staff that are athletic directors now. It's probably a couple dozen if I had to bet. And then Rick has got an unbelievable reputation as well. So how those guys have affected help you become the leader that you are today.
Well, first of all, don't sell yourself short. When Amanda, my wife, worked for you, you have a handful of guys and females that work for you there that are prominent, Power 5 ADs and Group of 5 ADs. So you have quite the tree out there yourself, Mike. So pretty impressive group that you mentored and pushed along the way. But yeah, it is crazy, and you just never know who you'll meet, when you'll meet them, and how that'll impact your life and your career down the road. And I can remember, the first ever job I had in college athletics administration. I was finishing up my degree at North Carolina, and I was an intern in the ticket office there. And just so happened, one of the employees that was in the ticket office at the time was Rick Hart. And Rick and I, worked together, and obviously got to know him very well through that internship opportunity. And when I went to grad school at Ohio, Rick then moved over to Oklahoma to pursue a career in marketing that Joe had given him out there. And we stayed in touch and stayed good friends, and that opened up an opportunity that presented itself for me to move out there as he moved up and backfill one of his positions, and thus the opportunity to work with one of the best in the history of collegiate administration, and Joe Castiglione, and the Big Oak, as we call him, because he has so many acorns out there. So Joe is, he's seen it all, been there, and you're talking about transformation and completely transforming that athletics department from when he took over to what it is today, and how some of the things that he's implemented along the way has transformed even our industry. It's been pretty phenomenal to watch, both up close and then continue to develop from afar. So it really is, the lesson that I learned, going back to the first thing I talked about with Rick, is you just don't know who you're going to meet, when you're going to meet them. And if I could ever give, and when I have a chance to give anybody advice, is, whenever you have a job, take the time to meet the people that you're working with, but also do great at what you're doing, because people will notice, and that can help lead you to great things down the road. And you don't know when, where, how, or why, but that's a perfect example how I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time and be joined with one of the great leaders in Rick Hart that we have now in college athletics.
So I have to ask, did you have a College of Charleston fedora hat like Joe wears for Sooners football games?
Look, first of all, if Joe watches this, he's gonna bust me for not wearing a coat and tie. But it also is summer, so he does have kind of the relaxed summer attire policy. I tell you, one of the most difficult things ever having to do working for Joe was working a college football game and having to wear a coat and tie when it's 100 degrees on a Saturday in September in Norman, Oklahoma. Brutal. All of our dry cleaning bills were through the roof.
With no humidity, right? No humidity.
Yeah, no humidity. No fedora. No, I don't have a maroon sport coat or anything like that yet. I'm not as bold and as boastful as Joe is. He can get away with that look. I cannot.
That's right. All right. So look, if you know me at all, you know that I love to read. I love travel. I love good local food. And I can't talk to a guy from Charleston without talking about travel and food for just a minute. We got to end on a lighthearted note. So I want to know, it's a great city to visit. Of course, you got the beaches there and the history and that sort of thing. If someone were coming to Charleston for the first time to visit, what are the top 3 or 4 things you would say, hey, if you come to town to see, with your basketball team to play us, or baseball, or you're just visiting, these are the 2 or 3 things you need to do if you come to Charleston. And then let's flip it to the next part, and that's, here are the 2 or 3 places you've got to try to get in to eat.
Yeah, no question. Well, I mean, one, it's a small historic city, so you can walk around. It's a friendly, easy, safe city to walk around. So walk down to the Battery, Rainbow Row, some of those staples that make this place special. If you have a car and an opportunity to go hit a beach on Sullivan's Island or Folly Beach, go check that out. It's beautiful. It's unique. It's a smaller, cleaner version of New Orleans, I guess is the best way I can say it. But the architecture, the history, and just the ease of navigating the city, you can't go wrong. And then from a food standpoint, look, first of all, you have to, if you haven't already, go meet our friends, the Halls, Tommy and Billy
Yes.
Hall. They just opened in your home city of Nashville, so they're really excited about expanding their franchise out to Nashville. I think they just opened officially last weekend, but that's a staple here, and what that family's done from a culinary standpoint, not just with that restaurant, but the others that they own. But one unique place that I love to go, and it's in Mount Pleasant where we live, is Shem Creek. And Shem Creek has some great outdoor places to eat, great scenery, dolphins playing in the creek there. It's a pretty cool, picturesque. One thing that surprised me about Charleston is being on the water and just surrounded by water. We don't have a lot of restaurants that are waterfront restaurants, but those places over in Mount Pleasant on Shem Creek are a handful of them that are. And it's a pretty cool, easy place to get to, and a good scene, whether it's for a Saturday afternoon happy hour, lunch, brunch, or dinner. So the beauty of Charleston is if the restaurant is open, you know it's good, because there's so much competition here. You can't go wrong. And any places up and down King Street, over in Mount Pleasant, even over in West Ashley, there's some great opportunities to fill your belly and put on a lot of pounds like I have over the past 5.5 years.
Yeah, it's a great town, great cultural town too, right? Music and
no question.
and so forth, and
Yeah,
art.
like right now, this city has so many festivals. So you have the Food and Wine Festival, and in March you have SeaWe, which is the Southeast Wildlife Exposition, in February. Just finishing up Spoleto, which is one of the biggest arts festivals in the U.S. with music, dance, and visual arts, and we sit right in the middle of all of that. So it's pretty cool to go out for a jog or a walk, and you're walking around this city where thousands and thousands of people come every single day and spend a lot of money to vacation here, and to look out my window right now where my office is in TD Arena and just see tourists walking up and down the street all the time, or seeing the horse carriages go by TD Arena, and listening to the guys giving the history of the city of Charleston and our campus as they drive through the campus is pretty cool, pretty special. Even yesterday, sitting out here, I was in a meeting, and you see a Carnival cruise ship backing up to head out to the Bahamas at 4 o'clock. So there's always activity here. There's people always ask, well, when's the down season? When's the quiet tourist season? And the truth is there isn't one, because the weather's for the most part year round nice, and summer it's heavy at the beach, and in the winter it's heavy downtown with people trying to escape whatever cold climate they're in at the time.
Yeah. Hey, just two quick comments on the restaurant. I have been to Shem Creek. That's great. Halls I've been to when I was on the Clemson alumni board. We had a meeting in Charleston. My office, Matt, is located just down the street from the new location of Halls here in Nashville. That is my daughter's office is in that building. I keep telling her, hey, we're coming down and going to grab dinner one night. So two great recommendations there. And, look, you're fortunate that you've been in great places, and you're in a great place right now. And you guys have had some real success at the College of Charleston. I know you'll continue that. It's been a real honor to have you on today and to catch up for a few minutes and talk about the good things that you're doing there. And, certainly I follow your career because I've known you for a long time, but also because Amanda is there alongside of you. That's meaningful. When you work with good people, you want to follow them, right, and what they're doing. And certainly she was a significant part of our staff for a while. And so I'll always continue to wish you well, and just want to say thanks for joining me.
No, thank you. And there's not, a time that goes by that Amanda doesn't reflect on her time at Tennessee and working with you and others, and the friendship she made and the friendship she still has, even with the donors that she got to know and steward and develop close knit relationships with. So she's always going to be evolved. She always has a sweet spot in her heart for Tennessee Orange, and has some memorabilia around our bonus room, and now our boys are starting to ask mom a few. It was really quick. One cool thing last year is we met her family in the mountains, and Amanda wanted to take our boys over to tour to Knoxville and tour the facilities and show them here's where mom worked. And it was funny to see our two boys, who only know her as mom and know dad as the athletics guy, that, man, mom had a really cool job and she worked in a really cool place, and look at this football stadium and basketball arena, and got to shoot hoops and in the arena and go into the nice football facility that you helped build. And so that was kind of a proud mom moment for her, is to get back to campus there and take a walk down memory lane, but do it with her two boys was pretty special.
That's awesome. It's great to be able to have the kids around athletics, which that is one of the things we should never take for granted. The fact that we can have our children around, something so significant and meaningful as college athletics, right? Be on campus, learn the meaning of teams and competition, and being able to interface with adults and learning how to, how that's meaningful in their life. We should never take that for granted in these careers that we have.
Yeah, no question. And I tell our student athletes that all the time, is that I have two little boys that they are going to hang on every word and every action you do. And whether you like it or not, you're a role model. And with that comes responsibility, but embrace it and own it. And for my boys to be able to grow up in this type of environment is a true blessing that I hope one day they look back on and are thankful they had the chance to do it.
That's good. All right, folks, you've been listening to Matt Roberts, the athletic director at the College of Charleston. It's been a great conversation today. We hope we'll see many of you at NACDA next week in Las Vegas, where we'll be recording several of these sessions live. We invite you to stop by and say hello. Listen every Wednesday. We broadcast every Wednesday on all the audio platforms, and of course you can watch it on video on YouTube. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.